This thing on?
If you like rock music, punk, metal or blues, then you've come to the right place, because we like it too. It's Soundcheck. It's Soundcheck. It's Soundcheck. Check, check, check.
I love it. Great.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Soundcheck, the rock and roll and alternative music podcast here in Central Michigan Life. My name's Andrew Mullen. As always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host,
Michael Livingston,
and our fantastic, wonderful, beautiful editor,
Ben Ackley.
There we go. Got that pregnant pause in there. And it feels like it's been a little bit. I think we took a week off. Finals, I think, kind of warped our sense of time more so than the pandemic already has. So it feels like it's been a while since we've been able to sit down with each other and kind of be able to record an episode. But that's okay. We're back now. And I think we're going to have a really fun, maybe slightly embarrassing episode for all of us planned. But I think we're going to have a good time here. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, first of all, we should probably get some stuff out of the way. As always, you can follow us on Twitter. It's at @SCheckOfficial. That's our Twitter handle. Michael, where can people find your lovely self on Twitter?
yes, you can follow me at Michael C. Live.
You can follow me at Andrew4, and I won't bother asking Ben because they'll just say you can't find him. We've learned the drill by now. But yeah, this is gonna be kind of. Michael's saying this might be our last official episode of the season. I wouldn't go as far to say that. This is gonna be the last episode of the season where we're like kind of actually in school. But considering that we been mainly doing this over Zoom for the entire semester, it's pretty easy for us to kind of carry on the semester moving forward. So actually, we will have a few episodes coming out post finals ending, and we will be, I think, carrying this out kind of roughly a little bit before Christmas, before we come back in mid-January. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so keep an eye out for us past break this time, guys. We got a couple cool episodes planned for you. That being said, though, let's get into today's topic at hand. Michael, Ben, question for both of you: were you once described as teenagers at some point in the past?
I have to say I was, unfortunately.
I'll plead the fifth.
Well, we don't know. We're not quite sure about Ben then, but I was also once categorized as a teenager, as we all are, I assume, or part of our adolescence, whatever you want to call it. We were younger than what we are now, and at some points, we tend to follow embarrassing trends or have embarrassing things about ourselves from that point in time. We're still trying to figure out exactly who we are. Sometimes those trends kind of carry with us throughout time. We might still listen, especially if we're talking about music. You might still be listening to some music you might not want to tell people because they're part of that cringy phase in your past you still enjoy. Other people, it is a phase, and we kind of look back at that point of our time as with some disgust, maybe some embarrassment because, wow, that was terrible. I don't know what this intro is, but I think you get the gist of what this episode's topic is going to be. We'll talk about music of our adolescence. We kind of stole, at least I kind of stole this idea from Anthony Fantano, but now we're going to expand upon it a bit. We're going to talk about music that we once listened to as, in our early mid-teens, maybe a little bit before that, and just kind of share it with you all. Michael, how are we going to do this today?
Andrew, you introduced this new app that we're going to try out called JBXQ.
JBXQ, yes.
Close.
And basically, Andrew, the way you described it is just a better way to share music and kind of like, you can use this at parties, I imagine. You can use this on the go. It's just a way to hear music, right?
Yep. I guess I'll explain the app real quick. So basically, I'll show the home screen. You can get this for all you listeners of the podcast form. I'm showing this on our screen, but I'll try to do my best to describe it. audio wise. JBXQ is, I would call it community radio, basically. Basically, as you scroll through the app, you can get this on desktop as well. There's like a bunch of rooms you can join, like, I don't know, the mixtape, this one's called Jam Sesh. There's True EDM. There's lots of different rooms for different genres and vibes and whatnot. And basically, you join. You create a queue, which is basically just like a playlist. And if you be a DJ in one of these rooms, whether it's a private or a public room, it'll play whatever comes next. If it's people can like start it or say they like it or they don't like it, and you can kind of get feedback on what to play next in that room, so on and so on. It's a great way not only to introduce people to music that you love, but it's a great way to hear new music. So just before we get started, and this is not sponsored or anything, I've just been using this app for a while and I really like it. So I think it's really fun. I think everyone there should go check it out. Unfortunately, that's not what we're going to be using it for today for. We're going to use it to basically, kind of like what we did with Guilty Pleasures, the episode we did back in season 2 that you should all go back and listen to. It was a really fun episode. But this time, instead of talking about music that we're currently listening to, like I alluded to earlier, we're going to talk about music that we used to listen to. Michael, how's that going to work?
Well, yeah, just the way this app works, it introduces some anonymity to what we're playing. We don't know what music we're bringing to the table. All we know is that we're in some way ashamed that we used to listen to it or don't listen to it as much anymore, or even like kind of want to defend it. It's going to introduce some interesting conversations, and you'll see some live reactions of all three of us reacting to this music that we're about to play. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
And then when Michael says we don't know what we're bringing to the table, what he's meant specific by that is we don't know who each of us know each other, what we're bringing to the table. So I obviously know what's in my playlist. Ben doesn't. Michael doesn't, and then so on and so on. So we did this for our Guilty Pleasures episode where we kind of all went in blind to each other's picks so we can get our live reactions, because it's fun. This is music we were once embarrassed by, so I think it's fun to get a reaction. It's like, oh my God, did you just listen to that? So that's kind of the idea behind it. So I'm looking forward to it. Ben, what else do you have to say about this?
I just think it's going to be a very interesting thing and really kind of show our roots, because I feel as though you and Michael have a chance of having some similar songs on your playlists. I feel like mine is going to be kind of, it's going to be very indicative of the person that I grew into. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Of all the ones here, all the people here, I think you're going to have the most interesting picks. Like you said, I think Michael, you and I, we're going to have some similar stuff coming from similar genres. This is based on what I know about you. But Ben, I have no clue what you're going to bring here. So I'm most excited for your picks.
But I'd like to, if it's okay with you guys, to launch into my first pick.
Please do.
I think this is going to anger a lot of people here, but hopefully wake some people up to make you realize that you were once into this too, and don't hide it from me. So I'm going to launch into being a DJ.
Yes.
No more.
Okay.
Okay. Let me explain myself here. Okay. This was
what did we just
long,
listen to, Michael?
long before I got into
yourself. Who did we just listen to?
I have to explain myself. This was long before I had like any sort of music identity. This is like 2008, 2009. I'm in like middle school, dude. Like later than that, like just past elementary school. And I don't know about you guys, but I remember, at least in my town, like, and a lot of other small towns, like people hear this and everyone seemed to started listening to Skrillex. And like, it wasn't just my immediate peer group. It was like my dad was listening to Skrillex. Like everyone was checking it out in some way. And I don't know why. It was just like the new thing at the time. And like, as I guess dubstep was, just this thing that people never heard. There was electronic music, but it didn't go as like hard and as like it hits like the pleasure points in your brain, where it's like it builds up to this giant bass drop and everyone started falling in love with it. And Skrillex, Far Cry 3, the video game, had a lot to play into that. At least in the guys that I hung out with, like, there was a Skrillex song in that game, and then you would hear it all the time. It would be in YouTube's like top recommended. It was just everywhere. And I didn't have anything else to listen to. So this is just what I came back to. You guys had to have like at least heard this and on the radio at the time. Maybe you didn't love it or fall into it, but you at least heard it, right?
I assume I heard it somewhere. I have one of my roommates was very, very into EDM and dubstep when he was younger. So that's my real touch point, is just knowing someone who was in the place that you were. And I'm sure that there's some kind of support group you can join or something to try and process these feelings and memories that you have.
Andrew, help me out, man.
I'm sorry, I don't remember hearing this on the radio.
Fuck you. You at least remember like Bangarang or like
I'm sure I've heard various new dubstep. I don't know if it was Skrillex. I doubt it. I'm sure I'd heard the Skrillex song or two when I was growing up. Let me listen. Anyone who listens to the show or anyone I know probably like criticizes me for being a music elitist, and sometimes that's fair. I think it's a fair point, but I'm nowhere near as bad as I used to be. When I was first getting into music, I thought I had it all fucking figured out. Like, yes, this is everything I know is right. I used to think that any electronic music was just computer noises and just junk and get rid of it all. So yeah, Skrillex was like one of those banes of my existences. I hadn't heard it very much, but just hearing clips of dubstep, knowing what it was, I'm like, it's horrible. It's terrible. And I mean, yeah, I don't think Skrillex is still very good now, especially listening to this. I'm not going to say it's good now, but I've grown, especially after listening to bands like Nine Inch Nails, I've grown a really strong appreciation for stuff that sounds a little more industrial, stuff that sounds a little more electronic. And I think The Killers also helped a bit with that as well. Skrillex, no, I don't think I'm going to be there. I will say, though, after having listened to music, when someone says waiting for that drop, as they quote unquote say, I understand what they mean by that now, having that huge change in tone and rhythm. And it is cathartic in a way to hear that. So I will give them credit for that, again, to kind of help me understand that. But I don't want it coming from dubstep.
And I will end my segment on this. If you still listen to Skrillex, tweet at us, because I want to talk to you. I want to understand why you still listen to this.
Come on the show.
So it just in the late 2000s, and it needs to stay there. And if you still listen to this, please, I want to know why. With that, I think we can move on.
Well, speaking of the 2000s, imagine me with my CD Walkman for some reason. And one CD in particular, 10 tracks plus an 11th live bonus track. It's got a jukebox on the cover. Here it is.
In a town without a name, in a heavy downpour, thought he passed his own shadow by the backstage
My first favorite album was the 10 track Foreigner collection, their greatest hits from 1983. One of my first favorite songs was Jukebox Hero by Foreigner. That shit was in my CD player constantly. I know every single word on that still. I haven't listened to anything from that album in a serious way in 5 or 10 years. I was listening to it the other day for this episode. I remember it all. It's crazy. But yeah, Foreigner. So a band from the 70s starts out my my childhood songs here. So that kind of, I would say that that's very indicative of who I have become today. You know?
Andrew, you probably know more about Foreigner than I have. I don't have a lot to say. All I have to say is I put Foreigner in the same category as, like, I didn't even know they were a 70s band. I thought they were an 80s band, but I put them in the same category as Journey, Asia, like just all of those bands that I just despise. And it only takes one song for me to kind of like have a visceral reaction to it. But what about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. So Foreigner, I don't know much more than you, honestly, Michael, apart that I used to kind of listen to some of that stuff. And apart from Asia, which is a very strong guilty pleasure of mine, I cannot stand any of those bands either. They're kind of that part of, you know, like the late 70s, early 80s arena rock that is just so overproduced. It just kind of loses all value to me. You know, you said bands like Journey, bands like Styx, bands like REO Speedwagon. I think it's probably the closest to Foreigner there. Have you ever tuna a fish? Screw that band. I Foreigner. I used to like, you know, Hot Blooded. I'm sure at one point. I don't know. Like, I never had too much attachment to Foreigner outside of hearing them on the radio every now and again. I think I probably got sick of Foreigner once I realized how overused I Want to Know What Love Is was used in like Hollywood and for like movies. Like that ballad just, it hurts still listen to today. It's kind of like bad to the bone levels of like overuse. Like, you know exactly what kind of movie, what exactly a movie is if they're using that song, you know, in their soundtrack. But Foreigner, just really bland music. I really can't see much beyond it. It's overproduced crap. But considering, Ben, how much we know you love the 70s, this makes complete sense to me. Why would this be like something you would bring here today?
Yeah, these are my roots. And as much as I really kind of vehemently despise bands like Journey and even Foreigner now and Styx and all this, it's like a real icky sound to me now. And a really big part of that is I was into all those bands when I was a lot younger, when I was in middle school. So I have heard all of that stuff so much, and it isn't that good to begin with, I don't think. So, yeah.
Andrew?
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn. Sorry, messed you up there, Ben. If we cut it out for all of you, apparently if you downvote too much on this, you just skip the next song. Of course, when me and Michael first heard it, we wanted to immediately downvote Foreigner. So we've accidentally spoiled Ben's next pick, but that's okay. We still have my picks to go through. So, Michael, you mentioned something, you know, a song, listening to music, a song that you liked before you had any real musical identity. And that's what I'm going for. I'm cheating a little bit because, while this is still technically my adolescence, this is well before my teen years. I'm going to play you all my first ever favorite song. I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was in second grade. And when I say like song, I'm not talking about like Blue's Clues or whatever, like song made for children. No, this is my first ever favorite like song you would hear on like mainstream radio. I don't know why I was gravitated to this one. It's a horrible song, but nevertheless, I was. So, do you guys know the reason?
any you learning? I never meant to do those things to you. And so I have to say before I go that I just want you to know I found a reason for me to change who I used to be. A reason to start over new. And the reason is you.
That's enough of that. Okay, so here's the first thing I have to ask both of you. Do you guys even know what that song was or who Hoobastank is?
No idea.
Nope.
I had to look them up on the Wikipedia, but I can already tell they're the most early 2000s bands I've ever seen in my entire
You
life.
would think so. So I guess I do have to give some backstory. So Hoobastank was a band that started in 1994, which I had no idea they started that early. And yet, for some reason, they never had any time to actually become good. Basically, the best way I can describe Hoobastank is a very, very poor man's Incubus. And that probably, and just that statement alone probably just makes Incubus cry. I mean, you hear some of the other stuff like Out of the Dark, Out of Control, whatever. I forget some of that. Out of Control, whatever. I don't know. Like you get the sense of what there is. There's slightly new metal. Again, have that kind of weird alternative edge that Incubus had. That actually made them pretty decent. Hoobastank had none of that. Their lead singer is terrible. I'm sure if you heard, like, he kind of tries to do this like weird falsetto in this song, and he can't do it because he doesn't have the range. It's rough. This is some rough stuff. Yet they managed to get a hit, a pretty big hit actually, in The Reason. The Reason is pretty different from their other stuff, considering that it's a pop song more than a rock song, because they had a big old crossover hit. Even this album was released in 2003, but this was really a 2004 song. The song was huge in 2004. For some reason, my dad had heard on the radio, and I'm sure he started just playing it in the car at some point. And for whatever reason, little Andrew Mullen's brain back in second grade was like, yes, this is the greatest thing music has to offer. The fact that a 6-year-old decided that should kind of give you some indication how good the song actually is. So, I'm going to stop my monologue now because I'm kind of interested to hear what you two thought of this song, having first heard it.
I mean, it sounds exactly like when did this come out? Like 2004? Yeah, it sounds
2003,
like
2004.
2003,
yeah.
2004. I have a band coming later that's going to sound, well, actually both of my other picks are going to sound kind of like this in a way. But what you hear a lot from this period of time is, we can use auto-tune on everything. And that vocal is a really good example of like crazy, like high levels of auto-tune, not just used to fix, but just used for everything.
Yeah, like if you hear this band try to sing this live, it's pretty apparent then how much they used it in this song. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's a very interesting just sort of musical construction aspect of this period of time, is that everyone was loving the auto-tune on every single lead vocal the whole song. What do you think of this, Michael? Love it?
All I have to say is, if this was your very first favorite song, Andrew, that explains a lot about you.
Wow. I've never felt so attacked in the show more than right now.
Yes, jokes, obviously. But yeah, I just hate the mood of this song. I hate that, like, it sounds like it should be in like a Disney tune, you know, like it has that vibe where I just like, the soaring chorus and things like that is just,
if you want soaring, you should hear the bridge of this song, Michael, where you just start screaming, and the reason is you, over and over again. Just like swells in just the worst way. There might be a key change in there, or I don't know. It's bad. Yeah, this song's also like, I think a lot of people forget about this song is that it's also super, like, the lyrics are super manipulative as well. You know, like, I'm sorry that I hurt you or whatever. It's just, and yet actually provides no way he's gonna make things better. It's terrible. Do not listen to the song. It belongs where it was popular. I did try to briefly, like, when I actually did start listening to music again, I did briefly go back to this band, just trying to see what else they had offered and just remember the reason. And that didn't stick with me very long. It's to kind of realize how crap this band was. So in the midst of all the other stuff that I was listening to at the time, and you'll hear some samples later, even I couldn't stand Hoobastank or like H infinity symbol, because they used the infinity symbol for the two O's after the first H. So H affinity be stank. I don't know.
Let's not get into the lore of this band.
I don't even think there's no fucking lore, Michael. It's just whatever symbolism they try. Whatever.
Well, I can tell you for
move on, please.
My next pick has a little lore behind it.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
And I will tell you right now that this is a band that I still kind of have some sympathy for, and you boys can feel free to rip on me for that. But here you go. A little bit of metal now.
Did you never give a damn in the first place? Maybe it's time you when the tables turn. Cause in the interest of all involved, I got the problem solved. And the burden is guilty. Yeah, illegal mates, I'm away of here to try and stop, drop, and roll. You were dead from the get-go, been mouth-burner. Jump a cock, stuck a race, scared him in now. Then you dumb it that I thought always is and never was. Don't measurement appears to vinegar. Don't tell me it's me, think I fear your bullshit. Just another dumb bum jumping up this shit. Is another way to break through the noise. With a circle that is head, you got your pen. Gotta be that way if you want it. Sanity, literal profanity, it's bad. Smash it out.
All you wanna do is shut me down. All you wanna do is step me around.
Smash it out.
All you wanna do is shut me down. All you wanna do is step you out.
Maybe it's the way you gotta spend a lot of room. I'm trying to keep it, know you live in special.
We'll cut it there. Yeah, you guys saw this one coming because I've talked about Slipknot on the podcast before. I have seen these guys on 2 or 3 separate occasions. And this, yeah, I know. It's in there deep. Like I first heard before I forget when I was like really young. You know where I heard it, Andrew? I heard it on like a WWE video game.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then it just kind of took off from there. And then my friends at the time were like really into like just let's find the most obscene, like screamy, like just out of proportion metal you can ever find. And that was the first thing that came to us apparently. And I will stand by it to this day. I think Corey Taylor is a fantastic vocalist. I think you can see his range on Slipknot and Stone Sour. And, you know, I one time saw him at Rock on the Range, and he did a beautiful cover of I Am the Highway, which is a Chris Cornell song, which is not easy to cover, you know? And I stand by to this day that I don't think Slipknot is the worst thing to come out of the new metal era. In fact, I think they're one of the better ones. And yeah, I know you guys probably have a very different opinion. I want to hear Ben's first, Andrew, just because I know this is so far away from what Ben traditionally listens to.
Yes, I would agree probably with the fact that this is one of the better new metal things that I've heard, but I really don't like new metal at all in any way. If I'm having my rapping, it's going to be in conjunction with hip hop. It's not going to be going on over here. It's just I was never someone who had like as you're probably going to see, I was never really someone who had like a really edgy phase per se. I was just kind of like a musical snob asshole for a lot of my life. And I'm finally trying to move out of that, but it's I don't have that much to say because I don't like what is the deal with this band? Are they like, do they have some sort of, are they wearing costumes? It's one of the ones that they're wearing costumes.
They change masks for every album, and they're really spooky, and they got 2 drummers.
So they're like Kiss.
Don't ever compare them to Kiss. Better than Kiss.
They also like don't want the drummers just bang on an oil drum? Isn't that all they're breaking?
Yeah, an oil drum, like garbage cans. Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
I love it though. I love what they put into the gimmick. I really do. And like seeing them live blew me away the 2 or 3 times that I did. So
I don't doubt that they have a decent live show. I've spoken crap about Slipknot in here before, and all things considering, what Ben said, I do actually kind of agree with. They're not the worst new metal project out there. No, I mean, come on, you're competing against Limp Bizkit and Korn and
exactly.
Papa Roach. I mean, like it's tough competition, and there's actual talent in this band, unlike those other ones. So whatever. But does it still make them good? I mean, what I heard there, all the weird DJ scratching they kind of force in there. I mean, it's just rough to listen to. I've always said this, alternative metal, like in the early 90s is great. Late 80s, early 90s, you had Nine Inch Nails, you had like Fear Factory and Faith No More. A lot of really interesting experimental sounds. And I love early 90s, like alternative metal. But that genre, like a lot of other ones, kind of morphed and mutated into really ugly things by the end of the decade, thus into new metal. And Slipknot, whether they're the worst or not, are still egregious offenders of that. And I don't know. I mean, I will.
All right. Before we end this segment, I want to say, like, Corey Taylor is like a classically trained vocalist. Jim Root is actually a jazz guitarist.
Again, like I said, I know that there's actual talent in this band, and I agree. I've calmed down Corey Taylor over the years. He is a really good vocalist. I can't deny that he has actually a good range. It's just a shame that none of his projects ever translate into being good, so I can enjoy it. Like I've always said, since Slipknot is a stupid band, Stone Sour is this boring band, and quite frankly, it's just a shame. I will say though, if you want actual decent new metal, like one of the early projects from that genre, Snot, they actually had a lot of the same stuff with new metal, but didn't go all the way out stupid with it. So definitely listen to Snot. That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that. I think we can move on to Ben now.
Okay. Well, we are really going to the other side of the spectrum here, baby. Turn on your radio in the early 2000s, and you have a pretty good chance of hearing this guy, this Canadian, on an adult contemporary station. Here it is.
I'm already scared.
And you were bound, you were free, and you were black for me. You were dark, as dark as night. You were wrong, yeah, you were right. Well, shot down since you never had the chance. Took a ride on a suicide romance. Could've sworn there was somebody home to facilitate the great unknown woman. I ain't gonna meet you anywhere. Don't know where I'm going yet. No, but I sure am getting there, yeah. Shotgun fire and a body home. I got 2 dimes in the telephone, alright. No, it's not easy tonight. Shotgun fire and a body home. I got 2 dimes in the telephone, alright. Well, it's not easy tonight. She's in over my head, and it's not easy. It's not easy tonight. She's in over my head.
That is the lovely John Ondrine. It's like Ondry Sack or something. I don't know. He goes by 5 for Fighting. He's just a solo guy. He goes by 5 for Fighting, which is a hockey reference from this Canadian mid-2000s adult contemporary guy. But this album that this comes from, Easy Tonight, it has his biggest song, which is Superman. And I still think that it's really good. I like
Superman. It's a great song when it came out.
Yes.
I'll get back to
that. This is where I don't really have a lot of other artists. See, the thing is, I was very scattershot as an adolescent, a child and an adolescent, where I liked things, but they were all in very different areas. Like I liked this, but I was also getting into, like there's lots of classic rock I could have brought on that we all are very familiar with that I was getting into at this time. Or there's some stuff that's a little edgier that I'm going to play for my last pick. But this was just like, I think this album specifically was the dawn of the Ben that you know today, the guy who really listens to music for choruses and lyrics. And this has got that in spades. Basically, every song can get stuck in my head, and I know I am familiar with everything. I don't know. What do you all know anything about Five for Fighting? Do you have any familiarity at all?
I have none. I think I heard the name before. I never heard any music associated with it. After this, I kind of want to keep it that way. This is easily the least worst thing we've heard since we played, and it makes complete sense. So this is something I can definitely hear young Ben Ackley listen to this. But yeah, adult contemporary can really be hit or miss for me, and this is definitely a miss. I mean, with this weird like down home roots, style instruments, but also very cleanly produced, along with this. I don't know what this vocalist reminds me of. I can't put a finger to it, but it was really grating to listen to. This weird, almost frog style vocals he's bringing to this, and whenever he tries to raise his voice an octave or two, it fails completely. In the chorus. I don't see much talent really in here. This is definitely seems very indicative to John Mayer, another adult contemporary artist at the time, and none of us should be reminded that John Mayer exists. So, that's all I have to say to it.
My opinions are pretty much square in line with Andrew's. After a quick Wikipedia search, I do remember a lot of these hits. I remember Superman. I remember The Riddle. These are all pretty indicative of the late 2000s, early 2010s. And, I also learning now that this guy's a huge philanthropist, donates to a lot of charities. Shout out to that. But yeah, his music, not for me. And Ben, I'm glad this came up in your childhood because now I can make fun of you for it for the rest of your life.
Yes, and this Five for Fighting, this is not a hill I will die on, but it's a hill I would get injured on. Not fatally, just somewhat, I think that this album specifically, I think this was his first major label album. I think that this album is his strongest, and I like a lot of the songs. I think that a respectable band or musician could come along and do a real nice cover of one of them. I think he's a good songwriter at his core. I respect that a lot, and I like that a lot. And now I want to hear Andrew's next pick.
I don't know if I want to share this next one, guys. Because so this is a backstory to this. So how I discovered this. So we're not quite in my teen years yet, but we are going to enter it with this song still. Oh my goodness. So I don't know how to introduce Sex Box. I'm just going to say it. So I grew up in a NASCAR household. Okay. Michael's already
great way to start. Great.
So my dad loves NASCAR. He still does. I liked it, but mainly because my dad did. By the time I was a teenager, I lost any interest in it. I don't understand it. It's just a bunch of people watching cars drive in a circle for 200 laps. Hey, you do you, but it does nothing to me. Apart, and I will still enjoy this video game. I'm holding up NASCAR 2007 for the PlayStation 2. And here's why. Do not play it properly. Do not race like anyone else does. No. What you do, you stop your car, you turn around, you drive into a head-on collision with all the other cars, and it just matters. That's a lot of fun. You don't have to like NASCAR to think that that's a lot of fun. I'm besides the point. Why am I bringing this game up? Why am I bringing any of this up? Well, the opening song to this game, the first song that you hear when this game boots up on the PlayStation 2 was this. That's enough of that. Okay, so
Why
that was chosen for a NASCAR game of all things, I don't know. It doesn't have redneck vibes to me, so I don't understand. But it was, and I always associated playing with that game. And then when I became a teenager, later on, getting into music, I returned to this band, to this song, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Just rip into me, guys. I just want it all.
Let me level with you real quick. I did not actually think that was that bad. And I don't know why, but like the build up, the chorus, the way the rhythm was, I think I'm not going to return to it, but that wasn't a bad song by any means. And I was hoping someone would bring Breaking Benjamin into this episode because it's just such in the era that we grew up, and just it belongs in the past. And I was hoping someone would bring it to the surface, but this song in particular is not that bad. Don't take that with a grain of salt, because I don't like the rest of Breaking Benjamin's discography by any means, but
I would hope not.
Jesus Christ, that wasn't bad. I don't know. What do you got to say, Ben?
Well, that song somewhat, but sort of this band kind of figures into my childhood as well, just because. So my dad is a big like classic 80s 90s metal guy, right? So he was sort of, as I was a kid, he was still buying CDs when they would come out, and he was following new bands and trying to see what stuff he would like. So he would pick out, a song or two by Breaking Benjamin and have it on his MP3 player, play it in the car. So I have a passing familiarity with Breaking Benjamin, and that's from my childhood. And therefore, when I hear a song like this, I cannot entirely hate it, because it just makes me think of being a little kid. So yeah, I'm kind of in the same area with Michael on this one. Is I don't think it's the most embarrassing thing ever, but that's also just kind of because when we were all brought up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised. I think I'm going to be harsher on this than you two are on my own pick. So if you all don't know, like I said, this was Breaking Benjamin. The song was called The Diary of Jane. It's probably their most well-known track. This album, Phobia, came out in 2006. And I was horrified to find out, because I was in research, preparing for this episode, coming up with ideas to bring here. I was horrified to find in my old iTunes, I went into my old iTunes library card where I purchased music, where I'd willingly spent money that I had gotten through iTunes gift cards for Christmas, or I bought from doing chores or whatever, that I bought this entire album on iTunes at one point, and I regret it to this day, because you've heard one Breaking Benjamin song, you've heard them all. Michael, and you said the song isn't half bad in a way. I will agree with you to a point. I think the opening riff before all the guitars come in is actually pretty decent. The vocals come in, just loses everything. But this is legit their best song. And that's not saying much, because it's pretty bad still. It's really cringy, has all this angst to it. The lyrics, I think, are about his girlfriend who committed suicide or something. It's really rough stuff. So I won't touch on the lyrics there, but I will tell you what, the lyrics are not good in any of the other tracks. When you talk about I Will Not Bow or So Cold or whatever hits they've had, some hits in quotes. They're just they all their songs go at this really asinine, just gruesome mid to slow tempo pace. They're all this really heavy, angsty stuff. Every song you've heard is the same. The singer isn't very good. I think his name's Benjamin something. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Breaking Benjamin, not a band that should stay where it is. They still make music for some reason. I don't know how well they do. Whatever. I don't care. Don't listen to Breaking Benjamin. It's fun to be reminded that Diary of Jane exists because of nostalgia for me. But beyond that, strong no on Breaking Benjamin for me.
So my next pick, I mentioned that I've seen Slipknot 2 or 3 times live. And at one of those shows, it was Slipknot and Korn co-headlining with this as their opener. And everyone will remember good old Marilyn Manson. stop it there. But here's what I got to say about Marilyn Manson. I still to this day, in some ways, respect him for who he is. He's just trying to like piss off, the right wing conservative moms, and I'm all for that. But his form of shock rock does not stick around with me, and I look back very unfavorably to how he did it, especially when you go back to like his arguably best album, Smells Like Children, and the B-sides and the names of some of those songs. He uses the N-word. He just kind of does everything he can to just really, not appeal to anybody. And his music kind of surfaced for me when I was just trying to be rebellious and edgy, and that was cool. And he opened for Slipknot, burning a Bible on stage. He had like dead babies like decorating the stage. I thought it was the coolest shit ever. And, some of the songs like The Beautiful People, I think are still great songs. The Dope Show, too, on Mechanical Animals, he gets a lot more industrial, which I like. I think his cover of Sweet Dreams still is great. But if your greatest hit is a cover, I mean, that just kind of says something about you as an artist, So what did you guys think of Marilyn Manson when he was kind of surfacing and he was kind of on every headline in Fox News at one point and stuff like that?
I must have had just a really, well, I did. I think I had a pretty sheltered childhood in terms of music, it feels like. Because, my family, we didn't have cable when I was growing up, so I didn't really ever see any, I wouldn't have seen any sort of cable news pieces on Marilyn Manson because I assume that's where that would have shown up, not on the local news.
Right.
But that's my reaction. It's a lot of the stuff we're talking about today is very of its time, and Marilyn Manson, I don't think, is an exception. I don't know if he's still if he's making some crazy stuff now, but even the name, I think, using the name Manson really just sort of lets you know exactly what old Marilyn was all about.
Ben, let me point you to his most recent picture on Spotify, though. Him in a cowboy hat.
Shit. Well,
he's recently been trying to take a country angle. He put out a few acoustic.
Not that has to listen to it. It's a requirement.
Including
right.
a song called "God's Gonna Cut You Down," and I think you should give it a listen before you pass.
Is that a Johnny Cash cover?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's a cover.
Oh yeah, that's a cover. Sorry. So there you go. He covered Johnny Cash. So go ahead. Don't save your judgment until after you listen.
Yeah, you know what? If there's a cowboy hat involved, I am contractually obligated to go listen to it. So I guess I'll have to check that out, and I'll come back to you next week.
Yep. Andrew, what do you think?
God. No, I actually won't be too hard on you, Michael, for this one, because I can actually also get down with Marilyn Manson at certain points. Like you said earlier, some of his aspects of music doesn't really age well, like covering that Patti Smith song you referenced to. But yeah, I will say though that if we're talking nu metal, he's definitely one of the few artists from that genre that I can actually listen to, alongside like Perfect Circle or something like that. I kind of like what he stood for in the sense of standing up to, right-wing conservative parents at the time, and, really teeing off Fox News in its early days. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't really know much of his stuff to really give a great, criticism towards. I know my girlfriend who still also likes Manson. She had me listen to a song called Lunchbox from, I think, his first record. And I actually enjoyed that. The lyrics are a bit hokey. It's all about like bullying and stuff like that. But, I don't know. I can still appreciate Manson, not only as kind of like that force against right-wing America, but also as a musician kind of too, which I know is probably not something you'd expect me to say, but I don't know. I think he brought something different than other new metal artists at the time. So, and I appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time to come back around to Ben's last pick.
All right. So I'm going to set the scene here. This is not the scene of how this factors into my childhood, but this is the scene of the most significant thing that this band has done in the last 10 to 15 years. It is 2016. It's time. It's time for Donald Trump to be inaugurated as president of the United States. And he has gone down.
Well, he was inaugurated in 2017, Ben. Come on.
Okay, 2017. He has gone down the list of artists. And it has been no after no after no. The Rockettes finally said yes, so he's got a little bit of entertainment there. But he needs some kind of relevant rock band. What sort of rock band that is so relevant in 2017 could Donald Trump get for his inauguration? Oh, I know.
All my work in endless measures never seem to get me very far. Walk a mouse to move an inch now, even though I'm trying so damn hard. I'm trying so hard. Strong can turn me down, but I won't turn away. And I won't look and run, 'cause I'm not built that way. When everything is gone, there's nothing there to fear. This world cannot bring me down, no, 'cause I am already here. Oh no, I'm already here. Down on my knees, I'm already here. Oh no, I'm already here. I must have told you 1,000 times I'm not running away.
So you want to talk about heavy auto-tune? That chorus is insane. But Three Doors Down, actually, I said Jukebox Hero is one of my first favorite songs. My first ever favorite song is Kryptonite by Three Doors Down. There are videos of me in my diaper, like dancing around to that song in the living room with a little red toy guitar. Three Doors Down, it's very hard for me to speak objectively about this band because it was just like, I don't know every song, but from their first two albums specifically, I kind of just have rose-colored glasses on because it was just like, this is the music of my childhood, is Three Doors Down. And barring the appearance at Donald Trump's inauguration in 2017, I don't know. I kind of need y'all to tell me, does this completely suck? I think it does, but I don't know for sure.
Three Doors Down completely sucks, and they suck even more for letting Trump use this at his inauguration. That's just so funny to me. That, like, oh my god, it's such a cringy song. And
they played there at his inaugural ball. Three Doors Down played. Yeah. I don't know what they played.
What kind of presidential ball is that when you're having Three Doors Down play?
A really sad one. It was appropriate.
I suppose, yeah, it was. Oh my god. Yeah, obviously I did not know they played at his inauguration. That really does sour what little view I had really of Three Doors Down. Here's what I'll grant you, Ben. I used to love Kryptonite, the song, and honestly, I'll admit it. Whenever it comes on the radio, I still enjoy it. I still think it's kind of a bop. It's in my head most of the time. Granted, catchiness is never a really good indicator of how good a song is. Annoying songs can be very catchy, but I don't know. It's not bad. I don't think Three Doors Down is necessarily bad. Here's what I will say about them. I think it was the YouTube channel Rock that once described Three Doors Down as plain vanilla yogurt. There's nothing wrong with it, but you'd probably rather have something else with a lot of interesting stuff in there. And, I think that's a fair way of describing them. I mean, granted, I like plain, vanilla, like ice cream and stuff. So honestly, maybe that explains why I like this band. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, they're pretty boring, pretty uninspired. Even if they can come up with a few decent tracks, it doesn't really make them a good band, I don't think.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way, and that is my last one. And now, Andrew, we will move to your last one.
All right. Now, I am surprised. I'm actually really surprised, especially with you, Michael, that we have not gotten anything on here yet that can be described as scene or emo yet. So, which granted, it comprises a lot of what I listened to when in my early teens. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't have any build-up for this one. I'm just going to play it. So I'm very aware that it's the least seen emo of like their era. That's like their new era. But trust me, I listened to Sugar We're Going Down. I listened to Dance Dance. Thanks for the memory. I listened to it all. So what do you guys got to say?
There was a time in my life where Fall Out Boy was my greatest nemesis. Like, I didn't hate any people. I hated Fall Out Boy. Like, above any politician, any warmongering criminal, I hated Fall Out Boy above them all. Just for the way that they somehow were able to slide themselves into third era emo or third wave emo. And
I don't even think they are. This is them being like, at this point they started to become like Imagine Dragons basically.
Yes.
Right. But they just wouldn't die. Like bands like Fall Out Boy have one record or one song, a few hits, and then they're done. They're good. But year after year, they seem to have another song, another fucking song that I couldn't escape. And I just, oh, dude, you have no idea the amount of hate I had for Fall Out Boy as like a 13, 14-year-old. Like, they were just the bane of my existence. But I don't know, Ben, what did you think?
So, when I was in high school, we had talent show every year. We had a talent show every year. And without fail, every single year, some girl with her ukulele would mount the stage and play some fucking Fall Out Boy song. So, Michael, when you say that you feel as though Fall Out Boy was your great nemesis when you were younger, I feel that way still, and that hate retains to this day. There are many things I care about now, and many things I hate more than Fall Out Boy. And I'm not a person who hates bands very much anymore, even. But you know, this is the one. It's like this, and Imagine Dragons is like, I just cannot get it.
How, Andrew?
Now, before I go on anything, I do want to ask you guys this, and I'm sure I know what the answer is, but does your opinion on Fall Out Boy even nudge if we're talking, if we just ignore this era, like from this record, Save Rock and Roll moving forward, the latest era, and if we just look at their scene stroke emo era where we have like From Under the Cork Tree and stuff like that, does your opinion on them even budge?
I thought Sugar We're Going Down was a fine song. I thought that they fit perfectly into what was going on at the time. It didn't harm anybody, but even at that point, I kind of knew in the back of my head, like, there's going to be some like cardinal sin that will be committed within the next few years. Like, someone's going to die. like a part of my, and it's a part of my soul that was going to die, and it did. So yeah, not really true.
Well, it's fine. I'm just curious.
My opinion would shift just slightly because, yeah, I think Sugar We're Going Down is a fine tune. They're not as offensive to me then as they became.
So, yeah. So here's the thing. So here's my thing with Fall. For this particular, the reason why I chose this song in particular over like their older stuff is because this is one of the songs I was really into when I was first getting into music, like strongly, like when I was like 13. I'm surprised, I know. 13, 14, I was in 8th grade, and this was one of the songs I was really into. I thought this is the greatest thing ever, and I didn't really know who Fall Out Boy was yet. I was just kind of, exploring rock music for the first time, and this is, I think, something that appeared on iTunes. Like, whoa, I heard that chorus, and undeniably kind of epic in a way for the time. That and the first song here, Phoenix. I mean, it's like the same way that like Imagine Dragons is quote unquote epic. It's it's big and loud and it feels grandiose, even though it's completely vapid in all meaning. That's basically what Fall Out Boy became with this record and moving forward. The rest of the record's bad. They had like a weird Elton John like duet on here. It was weird. But when I started getting into pop punk, I think one of the things that really got me into that was listening to older Fall Out Boy, Sugar We're Going Down, Dance Dance, their cover of Beat It, which I loved for some reason and I regret. I think John Mayer played on that too. It was just a bad thing all around. It's just spitting in the face of Eddie Van Halen. John Mayer plays, so whatever. I'm not getting into it. The thing that really embarrassed me most about, not the fact I listened to Fall Out Boy, because I wasn't a scene kid. I never identified as emo. I wasn't like, and this kind of goes for Breaking Benjamin too. I never viewed myself as being that angsty beyond kind of having very unjustified like music snobbiness. Very justified considering this is what I was listening to. I just thought it was that good that I was listening to it. I didn't want to be part of any culture or scene or anything. I just thought it was that good. And the fact that I thought this crap, Fall Out Boy, or like, granted, I never really liked Panic at the Disco. I'll give myself that. But I was debating this or Bowling for Soup to like put here. Like that's the level of like stuff I thought, yes, this is actually good. And I actually enjoy this music, not like being part of a scene. That's the thing that embarrasses me the most about this. I was never part of these like cliques or anything. I just thought the music was good, even though it's terrible, objectively garbage. So
I feel like that's the case for a lot of these songs that we played today. It was in that time period, and I feel like we were all kids that like, we obviously the music was at our forefront.
Right.
And in some cases we fell into the culture more than the music itself. And we thought like, this will be the soundtrack to my life.
Yes.
And then 2 years later we find something that's significantly better, Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of the case for when you're first starting out listening to music and trying to find where you belong or what you gravitate towards. I guarantee you, like if you listen to one thing and you think like, this is my song, there's another song like literally maybe a couple weeks away. So
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like this episode was really fun, boys. I feel like I've never laughed more on one of our podcasts. Just seeing all of you guys' songs. I think with that, do you guys want to say something before we move in recommendations?
I think I'm good.
Andrew, looks like you're setting something up.
Not surprised by anything really here today. And now everyone knows my dirty little past, and I could have brought some honestly worse stuff, but this is what I thought was appropriate.
For sure.
You want to hit it with the recommendation, Michael?
Yes, sir. So as we're moving into holiday break, last year, Ben made me this guide to Bob Dylan, and he designed it. He like perfectly curated like a description and like his favorite songs. And I got really sick last winter break and I got through some of it, but I didn't get through all of it. So this Christmas break, I'm making it my goal, because I'm also going on a road trip, to listen to all of those Bob Dylan records and come back with a good view of Bob Dylan. And I wanted to do the same thing for Ben this year. And Andrew, I invite you to join in on this too. If you have like a band that you could like really dive into and break down each of the albums for and share it with us. I'm going to make one for Dinosaur Jr. for Ben. And as I'm going
I'll
back,
do REM for you.
I am totally down with that. Let's do that. But I made one. I'm going to make one for Dinosaur Jr. I already started, and I'm listening to back on some of these records. And of course, this is a cop-out recommendation because it's my favorite band. But this is probably the record that nobody knows about. Talking about Hand It Over, when Jay Mascis was just by himself and he's experimenting with horns, banjo. It's like this country kind of flair to it. And I think Ben's going to really enjoy it. So I have this one called Gettin' Rough. Stop it there for now. But yeah, that album is very weird how loud and how soft it gets. And I would just like to go back to our old podcast editors. Like one of my favorite quotes from Brent Gunn was Jay Mascis's vocals is like getting a nice warm hug. And I hope you experience that over Christmas break, Ben.
Wow. Yes, hearing that really bodes well for this whole experiment. I've always said, and I'll say it again, I think of everything that you really love, Dinosaur Jr. is my most likely to feel the same exact way. And I have not ever heard evidence to the contrary. So I'm very excited for that. My recommendation is not really cop-outy. It's just something I've been listening to a lot and that a lot of people are probably at least somewhat familiar with or I've heard before and just don't really consider. I would like to do sort of an appreciation post right now for Two Princes by Spin Doctors. That's a good old early 90s, I think, tune. It was somewhat of a hit. I really don't know anything about it or the band. I just know that Two Princes is an awesome song, and I've been listening to it a lot. That's it. It was in Lego Rock Band, and it's good. So here it is.
That's what I said now. Princess who adore you. Just go ahead now. One has diamonds in his pockets, and that's some bread now. This one said he wants to buy you rockets, ain't in his head now. This one got a princely racket. That's what I said now. Got some big seal up on his jacket, ain't in his head now. You marry him, your father will condone you. How about that now? You marry me, your father will disown you. He'll eat his head now. Marry him or marry me, I'm the one that let the baby, can't you see? I ain't got no future or family tree, but I know what a prince lover ought to be. I know what a prince lover ought to be. Said if you want to call me baby, just go ahead now. And if you like to tell me baby, just go ahead now. And if you wanna buy me flowers, just go ahead now. And if you like to talk for hours, just go ahead now.
Just makes me think of, if anyone listening has seen Clerks, just makes me think of Jay and Silent Bob dancing in the parking lot.
That's
I love
great
it.
tune.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know much about the Spin Doctors either, but I do like that song. I mean, surprised to hear it here. Yeah, I mean, it's another reason why I love 90s. Like if it's a hit in the early to mid 90s, I'm probably gonna like it. Everyone knows me. I love 90s rock. But I will propose something very, very different. Where am I? There we go. So this is actually coming from my girlfriend. She recommended these band earlier. The band's called East. I don't know how to say it. The band's very hard to look up because their name is literally just ES. That's just how you say it. It's how you spell it. And I don't understand it either. But they're a really interesting sounding band. They're a punk band, but they also incorporate a lot of like synths in their sound. They have this really weird reverby aspect to them. I really enjoy it. This is I listened to this about a week ago, and I love it. So I'm gonna play you a song called Foundation. Kind of get the idea of it there. Band's really cool. Huh?
That's giving me Sonic Youth vibes, so I instantly like that.
Well, nice. All right. That being said, I think that's it for today's episode. I had a lot of fun. Hope you guys did as well.
Yes, this is a great way to round out our last week here up at CMU. Hope you guys all have a great holiday break. It's gonna
but we will be back at some point soon. We have a couple more episode ideas, including a Christmas episode, which I'll just love so much. But that will be in a few weeks. I think our next episode is going to be, I don't know what. We will figure that out shortly. So stay tuned for that, listeners. And as always,
good night, Detroit.
I never travel to the house. I enjoy the